Okay, Dana, I'm glad you're with me today to find 5 easy steps for gardening.
I am so thankful that you invited me out here today, and I'm excited to get learning and get gardening.
Oh, good. And I hear we have a whole bunch of folks out there that are going to learn right along with us.
Awesome. It's you and me, guys.
5 easy steps for gardening. The very first one is you got to pick what are you going to grow in the first place. In general, your choices are going to be vegetable, fruit, herb, or flower. Now, some flowers are edible, but we're making flower really ornamental today. So we're talking about the things you can eat more so today. Your fruits, your vegetables, and your herbs. Once you've figured out what you wanted to grow, the next thing is we're going to put more than one thing in a pot. Our containers, which we're going to talk about in a moment, can be huge, they can be small, but we are going to put more than one thing in a pot. So we have to be aware of what goes together. When you buy something that comes already planted and ready to go, you're going to have one of these inside. On the back of it, it's going to tell you how much space you're going to need between them, what kind of light you're going to need, and what kind of water. This one is a bell pepper, and this one is a basil. Not by chance, by choice. Both of them need a lot of direct light. Both of them like a fair amount of water. They're complementary. They're looking forward to growing together in the same pot. We wanted the experience for you today, though, to be not only plants that are already growing, but also the seeds. Dana, what did you know about your seeds?
Well, I've got the same things, but I've got the actual seeds. So I've got the sweet pepper and I've got the basil. So on the back of the seed packages, just like you have instructions for the plant, thankfully for somebody like me who has no idea what you're doing, you've got instructions on the back of the seedlings. So you've got information like days to germination, which Holly explained to me is after planting how long it's going to actually take for you to see something growing. Then you have the depth that you need to plant the seeds, as well as how far you're supposed to space them out, and then days to harvest. So it's really user friendly and beginner friendly.
Good, and we also know on those packets, just like what I read here, they also say even as seeds, they need a lot of sunlight and they need to stay fairly moist most of the time. Again, wonderfully complementary to put in the same container. I said container a couple times. How does anybody pick a container? Well, I do want to let you know you can go to your local nursery garden center, or you can even go to your local hardware store. They usually have a gardening center in there, and you can buy everything in one fell sweep. You can buy your container, you can buy the plants, you can buy the seeds. If you didn't have the implements in order to put in soil, or you needed something to water with, you can get all of it there. But the next question is, what could you use from home? And now, Dana, I think you came up with a great idea.
That's my kind of thing. What can I do myself? How can I save some coins? This is actually a milk container. You're done with your milk, you can cut it off, and you've got a planting container right there.
Now, I know that one of the things we're eventually going to talk about is that we're going to need to address drainage.
Yes.
My wonderful pot here already had some drainage available in it. How do you do that with a milk container?
So you can actually use something like scissors with a sharp edge to bore holes at the bottom of the containers. I'm not going to do that today because there's already soil in the container. But you can bring these on the ground if you were worried about the surface that you're using for your gardening, or if you're gardening with small children. I know there's a lot of children out there that are excited to get gardening. It's actually safer to put this on the ground and bore right through the soil, so you're not damaging anything.
All right, good. Okay, so we've got the basics done. I think the next thing we need to do is actually talk about that soil she mentioned that was already in there. You want good soil. We're here in Florida, we're here in Central Florida. We have sandy soil. It doesn't really have very good nutrients, and you even see in your own yard some things grow well, some things don't grow well. So using your own dirt at home isn't your best choice. Again, I mentioned going to the garden center. They all have potting soil. This is the one we chose to use this time. You can use any of them. You can use the store brand potting soil, but you want to use potting soil and you're going to put it in your container. Dana's going to put some more in hers. I'm going to put some more in mine. And it goes against something you've heard before, but it's better for your plant and the whole process to put some soil in there and then add water even before you put the plant in there. Soil that is already damp is much more helpful to the plant than all of a sudden just dumping a whole bunch of water on it at the end. Just gets it spread around, it soaks into the roots, that kind of thing. We feeling good about the soil in there, Dana?
I'm feeling good, I'm feeling good.
Okay.
So quick question. I mean, I've always had a dream of growing a beautiful garden. The thing that allures me to having a garden is just making food from farm to table, right? But it's always been intimidating to me. It's always been scary to me. What advice would you have for somebody like me who wants a garden, but they're just kind of scared to start?
I think one of the things to remember, and one of the nice parts about growing more than one thing in a pot, like we're doing here, or in a container, is you're increasing the chances something's going to grow well. If we were to plant 10 seeds, there's a chance that 6, 7, 8 of them would do well. We might have all 10, but something is going to grow. You're going to figure out why something didn't grow well as the process goes forward. You're going to realize, oh, I buried those two too deep. I didn't have enough water on those. So it's a constant learning process, Dana.
Yeah.
But you're going to have some success even the very first time you plant.
That's encouraging.
We're going to start by planting our new plants in my pots. And we're going to put both of these in here. Again, on the back of my little tab, it tells me how deep I want to go and how much. The deep is always the same roughly deepness as my pot is. These roots under here are all ready to go into the pot and have that same depth of rootness. So you can see I have plenty of room to put that in there. It also tells me that by the time I'm totally done, I actually need to have 18 inches between this and the next plant. Well, that's certainly not what this is, but it's going to be okay because after a few weeks I may decide I need a larger container. I want to separate them into other pieces. It gives you that chance to keep continuing. The cool part's going to be when we get to Dana, and she's going to get that chance to watch her individual seeds come up. There is nothing quite like that. You almost feel like you're that second or third grader back in school again, and oh my gosh, my seed is turning into a plant. Anyway, your very best way to get these out is actually to turn them over and squeeze a little bit. Then you have the whole plant just like that. And I'm going to stick it down into my hole pretty close to the right, because again, I'm going to put in 2 plants in here. And I want to make sure I have enough room. This one is my bell pepper plant. Bell pepper actually puts out the bell pepper. So I've got actually little tiny balls in here that are going to become flowers that are going to become bell peppers. But it's probably only, it takes 40 length of time. It's going to take about 75 days still to do this from what I've got right now. This is my sweet basil. The really cool part about basil, it is ready to use as soon as you have leaves. Nice. Leaves is what the basil plant's all about. So we're going to be able to use that one as soon. I could start using my basil leaves tonight when I'm cooking. In fact, I used both of these last night when I made spaghetti. It worked out really well.
Now, is there a time when you know that it's time to separate these, or you just keep these in the pot? Is there a time that you'll, move them to the ground, or they can always just grow in the pot together?
They can grow in the pot. As I mentioned, they both want to grow fairly large, so probably eventually I might separate these into 2 different pots.
Okay.
But it's okay to have them like this right now, and especially if you want to have company and have things look kind of good, you can always put things together. And then in a couple weeks, you could separate them out into more pots.
Okay.
Let's see what happens when you do the seeds. I'm not even sure what all those are going to look like.
All right. So first, I've got my basil, and thankfully, they've made them in a way that's really cool. They actually colored the basil seeds. So when you're planting them, you can see what you're planting. So these are green. They're actually the color of my glove here. So I've got my basil. On the back of the package, it does specify how deep I'm supposed to plant it. So it's 1/4 of an inch. So Holly gave me a good tip to use the tip of my pinky finger here to kind of guesstimate where I'm going to put these seeds. So I think I'm going to plant my basil more forward in the pot, so I have space for my pepper on the back side. So now I think, Holly, you were telling me that we all tend to go a little bit deeper than we need to mistakenly. Is there room for error on that, or how important is that it's accurate?
Florida is a really sweet state. We have a lot of sun, we have a lot of moisture, and because of both of those things, it allows for mistakes. We've asked for a 1/4 inch here. If she ended up doing a 1/2 inch, there's every reason to believe that 80% of her seeds will in fact grow. The ones that didn't grow might be because either they were too deep or it just wasn't a seed that was willing to do all of its growth that was necessary.
Okay, so should I go in with just one seed?
One seed per hole.
Okay.
I mean, you can see those seeds are real teeny and you're like, you must be kidding. You could put 4 or 5 seeds in there. But this is what it's going to grow into. And to have 4 or 5 of those all trying to find space becomes really difficult. So when you grow by seed, it really is one seed, one hole.
All right. Next I've got my pepper. And this one, the depth is 1/8 of an inch. So a little bit shallow.
What I love about her getting ready to pour out the bell pepper seeds is that the bell pepper seed, don't worry, you just pour it next to it.
Okay.
The bell pepper seed looks exactly like the seeds from the bell pepper. When you have cut your bell pepper.
Oh yeah, they sure do.
When you've been with your family when they cut the bell pepper, we always are getting rid of that inside piece of the bell pepper that's got all those seeds attached. Now you realize you could actually take them out, dry them out, or even just plant them as they were. And see if you could grow them straight from the seed of the bell pepper. Oh, the best part is if you drop one, then your question is, will it grow straight from the top? Who knows? It might. It says its best chance is having 1/8 of an inch into the soil, having a tiny bit of soil covering it, protecting it. And in Florida, we do talk about the rain. That 1/8 inch of protection keeps that massive rainstorm from allowing it just to wash away. In fact, it puts it down just a tiny bit more.
Just a little tip for those that are going to start with the seedlings. It was a lot easier for me to maneuver with my glove off than keeping the gloves on. Those seeds are really small, so thanks for that tip, Holly.
Sure, excellent point, Dana. Okay, the next thing we need to do is we have watered them. We had watered soil, but we want to water them. We're gonna let Dana water hers over there, and she actually wants to give it a fair amount of water over there to get it started. And for the first day or two, she's gonna wanna make sure she waters it every day. That looks wonderful. And then I'm going to water over here. So we have covered several of our steps, 5 easy steps. The first one was, what are you going to plant? The second one was, we're going to need a container. The third one was going to be, what are we doing with the soil? And the fourth one was, let's actually plant. Let's put those in. Our last one now is taking care of our plants afterwards. We've watered them, and how much sunlight they're going to get is the next one. If you remember when we started, we said these need really bright sunlight, a lot of it throughout the day.
Yes.
So if we actually were right now in an area where we wanted to plant, I can't guarantee I'm going to get enough sunlight where I am. You can see we're a little bit in the shade, but when I look behind me, oh my goodness, I see wonderful places. And on your patio, in your backyard, you very well, even in your front yard, you very well may have areas that look just like that right now and stay like that all day long. That's the perfect place for it, to put it. If you by chance don't end up having a lot of sun all day long, there are quite a number of plants that you can grow that want part shade, part sun. Those would be your better choices. And I believe you're going to be able to find some of those resources and what they might be from Healthy West Orange.
Awesome.
Dana, we've done a great job.
I'm so excited. I can't wait to see if my plants grow and the yummy, herbs and vegetables that I can eat.
And the cool part for me is I get to go ahead and start using my basil while I'm waiting for my bell pepper to come to full fruition. So thank you, everybody. We look forward to gardening with you further.
Thank you.
Well done!